If you are watching this video, you might be looking at one of the most dangerous success stories in history. Because this is not just the story of a billionaire. This is the story of a man who spent almost everything he had and came within a single failure of disappearing forever. And if one rocket had failed, you probably would have never heard the name Elon Musk. But how did it get to that point? How did a lonely boy from South Africa end up risking his entire life on something no one believed in? To understand that, we have to go back to the beginning. Pretoria, South Africa, the 1970s. A quiet boy. No friends, no protection. Elon Musk was not like other children. He was different. He read constantly. Books became his escape, sometimes up to 10 hours a day. Science fiction, physics, philosophy, while other kids played outside. He was building worlds inside his mind, but reality was much harsher. He was bullied, beaten. At one point, he was thrown down a staircase and hospitalized. This early pain forged a relentless drive, a need to build a world where he could not be hurt. And yet, something was already forming. A resilience that would define his future. At just 12 years old, he taught himself how to code. No internet, no teacher, just curiosity and obsession. He devoured programming manuals, his young mind absorbing complex languages that would soon become his tools for creation. Then, something unbelievable happened. He created a video game called Blastar and sold it to a computer magazine, a child selling software. For a boy who felt powerless, this was a revelation. It was the first signal that he could turn the ideas in his head into reality, into value. But Elon Musk didn't want to stay in South Africa. The world he read about in books, the future he imagined, was not there. He wanted something bigger, something more: freedom, opportunity, the center of innovation. He saw his future in a land of limitless possibility, America. So he made a decision that would change everything. He left. With barely any money, he set out for North America, a journey that began not in Silicon Valley, but with odd jobs and uncertainty in Canada. But what he found was not success. It was struggle. He worked cleaning out a boiler room and at a sawmill, his hands calloused from manual labor. He lived on $1 a day, surviving on hot dogs and oranges, a stark contrast to the life he would one day lead. This was not the glamorous beginning of a tech icon. This was the harsh reality of an immigrant with a dream, a period of obscurity that tested his resolve at every turn. He was alone, far from home, armed with nothing but his intellect and an unbreakable will to build the future he had always envisioned. In the heart of Renaissance Italy, a young boy stood apart. While others played in the sun-drenched streets of Florence, he was captivated by a different world. A world of shadows and light, of lines and forms. This boy was Leonardo da Vinci, but he was not born into wealth or privilege. He was the illegitimate son of a notary, a stain on his name that would follow him for life. With no formal education and no clear path forward, his future was uncertain. But within him burned a curiosity that could not be extinguished. He saw the world not as it was, but as it could be. So he began to draw. He sketched the world around him with a relentless passion, the wings of a bird, the muscles of a horse, the smile of a stranger. His notebooks became a universe of ideas, a testament to a mind that refused to be contained. This raw talent did not go unnoticed. He was apprenticed to Andrea del Verrocchio, one of Florence's most renowned artists. In that bustling workshop, amidst the smell of paint and the sound of chisels, Leonardo honed his craft. He learned to paint, to sculpt, to see. But he quickly surpassed his master. Legend says that when Verrocchio saw the angel Leonardo painted in the baptism of Christ, he was so humbled by his student's genius that he vowed never to paint again. Just like that, a new star had risen in the Florentine sky. Commissions began to pour in. Most artists would have settled into a comfortable career, painting portraits for the rich and powerful. But not Leonardo. Because art was never the only goal, knowledge was. So he did something that baffled his contemporaries. He turned his attention to the human body. In secret, under the cover of night, he dissected human corpses, an act forbidden by the church and condemned by society. Imagine the risk. The fear of being discovered, of being branded a heretic. But for Leonardo, the desire to understand was greater than the fear of punishment. He peeled back the layers of skin and muscle, revealing the intricate machinery within. His anatomical drawings were centuries ahead of their time. They were not just art, they were science. But here's the twist. Even as his fame as an artist grew, his reputation as a thinker was questioned. He was often dismissed as an eccentric, a dreamer who couldn't finish what he started. Many of his grandest projects, from a colossal bronze horse to revolutionary flying machines, remained incomplete. He was a master of beginnings, but a stranger to endings. Imagine that. Possessing a mind that could envision the future, but struggling to bring it into the present. But the story didn't end there. His restless genius took him from Florence to Milan, and then to France, serving dukes and kings. He designed weapons of war, engineered canal systems, and staged elaborate theatrical productions. And in the midst of it all, he created a painting that would change the world forever. The Mona Lisa, a portrait so lifelike, so mysterious, it seemed to breathe. Now he had everything. Fame, patronage, recognition, and that's when he embarked on the most ambitious explorations of his life. He didn't confine himself to a single field. He didn't specialize. He pursued everything. Botany, geology, hydraulics. He studied the flow of water, the formation of rocks, the flight of birds. Experts in one field couldn't comprehend his mastery of another. Patrons grew impatient. Rivals dismissed his scattered focus as a weakness. But Leonardo didn't care, because in his mind, this wasn't a collection of separate hobbies. This was a single unified quest to understand the very fabric of existence. But then, time began to run out. It was a moment of absolute breaking. SpaceX had failed. 3 launches in a row, each failure a plume of smoke where millions of dollars had been. At the very same time, Tesla, his other gamble, was collapsing. There was no cash, no time, and absolutely no room for error. Elon Musk was running out of money almost completely. Imagine the pressure. At one point, he had to choose which company to save, which dream to let die. Years of relentless work were reduced to a single final decision. Everything came down to one launch, the 4th rocket, Falcon 1. If it failed, SpaceX was over. Tesla would likely follow. And Elon Musk would be remembered as a man who flew too close to the sun and lost everything. The countdown began. Silence. The tension was suffocating. Then, launch. The rocket ascended, a fragile line of fire against the vast dark canvas. Seconds stretched into hours, and for the first time, a breakthrough. Success. Falcon 1 reached orbit. In that single moment of triumph, the entire world shifted. SpaceX survived. But it didn't just survive. NASA awarded them a contract worth billions of dollars. Almost simultaneously, Tesla secured the critical funding it needed to stay alive. They didn't just avoid death. They came back from the brink, stronger and more determined than ever before. What followed would reshape the modern world. Tesla went on to revolutionize the entire auto industry. Electric cars were no longer a niche curiosity. They became the inevitable future. SpaceX, once a desperate startup, rewrote the rules of space travel. Reusable rockets transformed the economics of the cosmos. The dream of Mars was no longer science fiction. It was now a tangible destination on a roadmap. And Elon Musk? He became one of the most powerful and influential figures on the planet. At one point, the richest man in the world. But even then, he didn't stop. In 2022, he purchased Twitter, one of the world's most prominent digital town squares, and controversially turned it into X once again. The world was divided. Genius or chaos? A visionary or a reckless disruptor? Perhaps he is both. Because Elon Musk is not a normal success story. He is a living contradiction, a man who risks everything again and again. He doesn't strive for comfort or stability, but for something far bigger, something almost unimaginable. He is driven by a future where humanity becomes a multiplanetary species, a future where Earth is not the end of our story, but just the beginning. And maybe that is the real reason his story matters, because it forces us all to ask one profound question. What would you risk if you truly believed in something? If you enjoy uncovering the stories of those who dared to change our world, consider subscribing to our channel. Let us know in the comments which historical figure you believe we should explore next on our journey through time.